Welcome to the Paper Snob. This is Tara. Today I am working on Iron Crafter Challenge. This is a hop that I currently hostess over on the Peace Craft Love Clubhouse Facebook community group. It was started by Anna and I at Peacecraft Love, and we decided to do this hop because there are things that every scrapbooker has in their stash that they are not using enough. And because of that, we felt like we needed to have a hop to help inspire ourselves and others to use up some of their stash. And so at the beginning of this year, or at the end of last year, I had the members on the group help me create a list for Iron Crafter Challenge. And this is where we use items, of course, that we have in our stash. And this month it is Nuvo drops. And I have 4 colors here to play with. I actually have a whole heck of a lot more than 4 colors, but those are the ones I pulled to play with. I am also combining Iron Crafter Challenge with today's 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life Series 16, day number 18 sketch. This sketch was created by Cindy Thayer Brown. This is such a fun sketch. I really love it, and I'm looking forward to playing with this. I have pulled Pretty Little Studios You Are My Sunshine. This is their new collection from the summer, and I'm using that to do my layout. And I have some photos of my sister and I ziplining. Unfortunately, the company that we bought our short excursion for in Jamaica never posted the photos on their website of our group ziplining. So I don't have any of the cool photos of me actually on it, just us preparing to go and being silly. So I'm also going to be using a title that my sister thought up that she thought was funny, and I think it's hilarious, and it's Flying High in Jamaica. I created this with a font on my Cameo in black cardstock, and so that's what I'm going to be using. If I matte any of these photos, which I'm thinking I'm probably not going to, but if I do, I'll use the same black cardstock to matte them. I'm going to pause. We're going to get started. I'll be right back. All right, I'm cutting off the branding strips from my papers, and I'm going to be using only part of this sunburst design. I'm going to cut it off about right here, and I think it's just a tad bit over 5 inches. That's where I'm measuring it so that I know how much bigger I need to or how big I need to cut the other piece. And I believe I cut this one 5.5 inches. I'm cutting off the side to use that does not have the paw prints on it, because I want to save that piece for some photos of some kitties or even a puppy. We still had a dog in 2016, and I still have a couple of photos of him to scrapbook. So I'm taking the blue piece here, and I'm just cutting a strip down from one side, and that's going to end up on the sunburst side, and it is going to hold my title. Now for the other side, I think hers is squared off, and I cut mine 8 by 11, and I'm going to center it on this floral piece. Isn't this piece really pretty? I love the vintage florally look, and while there weren't a ton of wildflowers when we were ziplining, because it's nature, I just wanted to go ahead and use that up. So I'm going to lay the one piece of paper on top of my Versamat. And what I'm doing is I'm going to be lining up the other side. Sometimes when I do a background like this, I will use a very thin piece of cardstock to put the paper on, but honestly, I didn't feel like I needed to do that with the Pretty Little Studio paper. It is thick enough to handle the creases or the cuts. So now I'm adding in the blue piece, and that makes that side pretty much done. Now I have the floral piece, and I'm going to go ahead and get my 8 by 11 piece centered on here. It might actually be 8.5 by 11. Kind of looks like it, but I'm going to center that on here, and that takes care of that. I had already cut out my title before I started. I'm going to pull off the letters so that I have them. And I know at the beginning I said I didn't think I was going to matte my photos with the black cardstock. I do end up matting my photos with the black cardstock. So I also want to mention that I decided to do the mixed media mayhem prompt for this week as well. And that prompt is stenciling, tearing, and multi-photos. And so I'm bringing in a very old border stencil, and I'm just going to use my little brush and some black ink, and I'm going to stencil 2 or 3 little borders down on here without trying to not make a mess. I should have masked off the borders that I was going to use, but I was kind of in a hurry, so I didn't do that. But it all ends up well, and I like how it turns out. So the next thing that I'm going to do after I get these borders on here, I think I do 3 in total. I'm not going to put a whole lot of the borders simply because I've already done some black stitching and I don't want to take away from the stitching. I just want to add a little bit more of the black lines in places where there's not a difference between the color. Like I stitched on this, like in the pink, those colors met in the middle, and I stitched on those same way with those blue where I put that border. So if that makes any sense at all. So here is my tearing portion for the mixed media mayhem. Honestly, I was having trouble with that being a straight edge, and so adding in the mixed media mayhem actually made me feel better because then I had permission. I don't think that's really the right word to use, but I gave myself permission to tear it, and I like the torn edge a lot better than I do the straight edge. Now I'm just going to be sticking in some of the flowers from the ephemera pack, and I'm kind of a hot mess today. I have a disaster area for a desk. I got up super early this morning to hang out with some friends on Zoom, and I just kind of feel a disaster. It may not look like that, but it feels like that. And so I should have organized these a little bit better, and I'm kind of doing that off to the side now so that it is easier for me to grab and pull which ones I'm going to use. I'm pulling out the fruit pieces because I'm not going to put any of those on this layout, although I know that there are some fruit pieces on the pattern paper on the right hand side. I originally pulled out the stars from this collection because I had a pack of the ephemera partially used, and then decided that I wasn't going to use the stars. I was going to use hearts instead, and that came about because I wanted to use the stencil I was using, and I knew that it had a couple with hearts in it. So my right side is not going to look as much like the sketch as I had intended. I should have printed these photos smaller, but in the spirit of trying to use the photos that I already have printed, I really didn't want to reprint any more photos. So I'm just going to use what I have and make it work. I still get 5 photos instead of 6 on the layout, but I also moved a title around a little bit because my title was so much longer than I had space for. And I'm adding a couple of phrases. And then I'm going to be just kind of tucking in some of the flowers around those top photos, especially because they're not even across that line, and that's actually making me twitch just a little bit. Hello, OCD. Thank you for rearing your ugly head. As you can see, I'm having trouble with kitties walking across my space. They think that recording time is their invitation to come and hang out with mom. I don't normally mind, but today I was kind of pressed for time and I needed to get this layout done. And I'm still trying to make some decisions on which pieces of floral ephemera I want to use. I don't want to take away from my photos, but I also want to use a couple of these larger ones because I felt like they would look really nice with the pattern paper and stuff. I will be adding in some foam adhesive in various places behind the phrases and behind, I think, almost every heart that I put on the layout. And again, I'm normally better about pre-picking stuff like this, but I just didn't. And so welcome to my mess today. I am gonna put some of the hearts on the color on the sunburst. I am put a black one there, but I am gonna swap that out for a yellow one eventually, or one that has yellow in it. I don't use the black one at all in the end, but I'm just kind of surrounding that central photo with a few hearts, and I'm adding a couple, I think there ends up being 3 on the right hand side too, just to bring the hearts across the page. I do like how my title turned out. I love this font. It's the Ballerin font that I purchased from the online studio, Silhouette Studio Design Store. And so that is, if you have a Cameo, that's the font that I used. I love that it's kind of a fun, scripty font. Makes it really easy to type out a title and then weld it together in the software and cut it out. And then you can resize it any way you would like. So there I switched out that black one. I'm putting away the hearts before I move on to the next thing. So remember, our mystery ingredient for Iron Crafter Challenge this month is Nuvo Pops of Colors or Stickles, anything along those lines. And so before I forget to add in my Nuvo drops, I decided I should get them on here. Now the goal is to not smear them. Me being left-handed, you probably remember that I say I drag my hand across the page, and so I have to be very careful doing the Nuvo drops with my left hand. You can see that I'm capable of switching for this between both hands, and that makes that a lot easier to get them done, being able to switch and use both hands. I'm not doing anything super special with the Nuvo drops this time. I made a beautiful Nuvo drop background a year ago for the same prompt in Iron Crafter Challenge. I will try to find that video and link it below so that you can watch that. But today I'm just using them like I normally would as in place of enamel dots. And I really love Nuvo drops, and I really need to reach for them more often. All right, I got my layout completely done. It's very colorful, and I love that. I love the colors in this collection so much. I love that I was able to use quite a few photos, and that I was also able to add in the mixed media Mayhem prompts for this day. That is a great group, and I'll have links below for that. If you ever want to join, you can join the group and play with the prompts. They have a new prompt every Friday, I believe. And it just worked out that I was able to add in the prompt with the stenciling, tearing, and multiple photos. Was part of this was already in, my design elements for this layout, so it made it easy to go ahead and follow through with the prompts. I enjoyed playing with the Nuvos. This is just a simple way to use Nuvo drops, kind of like you would a set of enamel dots. But you can draw tears and stars and hearts with your enamel dots, which is super fun. And I don't have an example of that on camera for you, or I would show that to you, but you can do all kinds of fun things with enamel dots. I believe in 2023, my Nuvo video, I made a background with my Nuvo drops, and basically I just put some Nuvo drops at the top of a piece of cardstock and used a scraper to drag it down, allowed it to dry, and I used it as a photo mat behind my focal photo. That was so much fun and a good way to use up quite a bit of your product. I want to thank you for coming to my channel today. Please make sure that you check out that description box below for the playlist for 30 days of sketches, for the hop list for Mixed Media Mayhem, and the list of Instagrammers for Iron Crafter Challenge, as well as the playlist for those who are doing YouTube for Iron Crafter Challenge. I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day, and happy Friday, happy weekend. Bye.